Buckets. That's the name of my boat. Buckets.
Buckets. What we get.
Not the only transfer we got from Florida. Keith Stone, too. Remember that.
Everybody who watches his show on a regular basis knows my love of the stretch four.
You know, we all make mistakes. He might have made one going to
It's
Tallahassee.
mercy if y'all don't know. Dribble to the left, cross over to the right. Hurricane to the game, many buckets for the night. Matt with the pick and roll, Melissa with the give and go. This Shelly, you hoodie girl dunking in the hole. Check the scoreboard, this what we fall for. Peep the gameplay, they want an encore. Yeah, overtime for another round. It's buckets out the buckets, baby. You out of time. It's buckets. What it is, homie? It's buckets. Woo! We get buckets. Yeah, baby. Buckets.
I have no shame.
I know. That's the problem.
You guys are awesome.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Buckets. We got me and Vish in the flesh.
Yes.
Something different.
Yeah, just returned from
The
watching
last
the
game
season.
of the season.
Watching the season. I put on a baseball jersey to try and change some of the mojo, and I think I caused the baseball team to lose. I didn't check the final score, but it wasn't looking good. So things aren't great, but we'll persevere. Shout out to Danbury.
Shout out,
For
Dan.
sticking with us through this fun season. Well, you've now attended the ACC tournament, so that's good.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Most definitely. Didn't think I was going to be crippled coming to this.
Yeah, this was all sorts of. I will say, price was right. $5.
Can't beat it.
Oh boy. Yeah. So just for everyone's awareness, we are going to do like kind of more of a season deeper dive tomorrow. When Melissa will be on as well. So right now we're just kind of focused on tonight's game against Boston College, which, you know, I don't even know where to start, man. We were up 7-2.
Why? That's what I was going to say. Why don't we start from the start? I mean, we started off. I mean, the first 2 minutes, if even that.
Yeah, I think to start the game. Let's say who hit the 3? Cleveland. So Norchad had a layup, then Matthew hit a 3, and then Norchad scored again. They had made one bucket in that sequence, so it was 7-2. After that, pretty much nothing went right. I think we traded a few threes. I think Nigel hit 1 too at one point early in the game, and then we felt good after that because it'd been a while since it'd been a while since he scored, and he played his ass off. I will say that. Yeah, he was a shining light in a pretty awful game.
Yeah, no, most definitely.
He was getting. I mean, I don't know if this came through on TV as much. We were kind of sitting pretty close, but at like an angle you could see he was getting the crap fouled out of him basically on every time he touched the ball. That Zachary guy that was guarding him was just hitting him over and over again, and they weren't calling it, and he played through it. So shout out to Nigel. That was gutsy, and he wasn't healthy either.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I don't know how many points he ended up with, but I mean, especially in the first half, we just couldn't contain Quentin Post. No one on our team could guard him.
Well, I mean, we're going to get into some of that. And kind of, I know. What did he end up with? I think you have the stats open, right?
Oh, I only have Miami open, but I can check it.
I mean, he put up close to 30, if not 30.
Yeah. No, it was definitely.
And it was highly efficient, too. It was not a good.
Jeez. He had 30. 30 and 13.
Shout out the Canes Cats Heat. Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of, like we said, we started off pretty well, had a little bit of a lead, a couple of minutes in, and then he took the game over.
Yeah.
And that was that. And
I mean,
Norchad couldn't guard him and didn't seem interested in trying. So,
yeah. I mean, we switched different guys on him. Nwoko got a chance to guard him. Matt Cleveland.
Shout out to Jackson as well.
Shout out Jackson. I thought Matt Cleveland, we talked about it a little bit. Matt Cleveland did a decent job on him. But, I mean, at that point, he was already, locked in offensively.
Yeah, and that's I think Cleveland did the best job defending him on the team, which again that should be Norchad, but and we're gonna get into his performance a little bit, which looks good stat wise. He got a lot of rebounds, but I would say he pretty much just played offense in this game. It wasn't actually Matt pulled the stat right. 9 of his 13 rebounds were offensive. Like he wasn't really competing on the defensive end, which a lot of our team wasn't, to be honest. There was just breakdown after breakdown defensively, and we're just not good enough to. I mean, that's what the team is, though, right? We're a bad basketball team, so in a sense, that's just what it was.
And then not closing out on shooters to start the game. Once you do that, I mean, you saw them make contested shots.
Yeah, once they get into a rhythm, it's harder too. That was part of the problem. I mean, the end of the half. I mean, that was. I don't even know what to say about what that was.
Yeah, losing. It was Zachary, right?
Yeah, no one covered him because we were all like, they're dribbling the clock down. We're like, they're gonna make a shot, and then they're like, just throw it to that guy standing there wide open that no one's covering.
And then 3 guys on our team were pointing at him and
like,
who's gonna go guard him?
Yeah, and, yeah. The answer was no one. He hit a 3, which pushed the lead out to 15 at the half. Made a couple of runs in the second half. I think got as close as 8 at one point, but not any closer. And I do have some questions about the rotations in particular. Can we start with Wooga?
Yeah, I was going to say let's start with Wooga. He only played 18 minutes. He was out. I mean, in the first half, he was out for an extended period of time, and then in the second half as well. You saw guys like Joe Bay in the first half go in. Who else? Jakai got in. Yeah, So I don't really. I mean, we both don't really know what happened there.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I think we're gonna see, in the coming weeks, there might have been some more rationale to how we were subbing in this game, but I mean, to just be blunt about it, there was some on the surface. From a basketball standpoint, a lot of subs that just made no sense.
Yeah.
We don't know what Wooga did to get benched. He certainly wasn't in foul trouble. But
maybe he had an injury. We don't.
Yeah, maybe he had an injury, or maybe there was some kind of. And we don't know, right? And we're not going to speculate, so we're just going to focus on what we do know, which was that Jakai and Joe Bay were getting minutes when he wasn't. He only played 18 minutes in this game. And he's one of the better players on this team, and his shot hadn't been falling. He went 1 of 10, so it wasn't exactly it was like lighting it up. But what we did certainly see from him is that he was really playing hard on the boards. He was grabbing rebounds, especially at the start of the second half. So it wasn't like an effort thing with him.
And I think too, it didn't really. He only had 2 rebounds, but he was tipping the ball out as well. So. Yeah,
and we're gonna talk a lot about a lot of that stuff tomorrow. I think when Melissa's here as well, she'll be on. We'll have the full crew tomorrow.
I think too, like when you have a season like this, like I think there's just I don't know a lot of things that contribute to it, and unfortunately, I think guys are gonna leave, right?
Yeah, we'll dig into some details on that tomorrow. And, it's frankly just going to be speculation. I don't think anyone's going to announce they're leaving right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty – some of the guys that are, AJ Casey and Chris Watson are not going to be here next year. I mean, that's obvious.
We'd be very surprised.
But, beyond that, we're always talking about, like, the guys that – well, I guess when Wooga's playing as many minutes as Nwoko, maybe, who is the top guy here. But, yeah, so we're going to focus on this game tonight, and then tomorrow we're going to talk more about where we go from here, what we think might happen. So Norchak got into foul trouble early, and something I've been I gotta doff my cap in the sense that I've been complaining that Coach L has been, and this is the way he's always coached. You get 2 fouls in the first half, you go out.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, you got to understand there's no depth on this team. You can't do that. You just got to play through it, because by the time someone comes back on the court, the game is over. Because we just don't have backup. So he allowed Norchad to play with 2 fouls for most of the first half, and he did not pick up the third until pretty late in the second half, when he kind of had a frustration tackle.
Was that was on like the putback or something? He got fouled on, or he thought he got fouled on? Or
yeah, he got shoved. I mean, we could see it. We were sitting on that.
He was the ball out of bounds.
Well, he was going for the ball, and like Boston College, it was a scramble for a rebound on a ball that was up in the air, and a couple of Boston College players ran into each other, and also then, as a byproduct, just trucked Norchad, who traveled, as what the refs called it. So they called it travel, and then on the next possession, he basically just tackled
Zachary
and got benched for it justifiably in that instance. Like, you can't do that. And but yeah, but he was able to play through fouls, which I'm glad he was given that opportunity. Unfortunately, there's about 2 minutes left because we didn't hit the under 4 timeout until pretty late in the first half. And so at that point, it did make sense to, all right, let's see if we can survive into the half. And we did not. They pushed the lead out heavily in those last couple of possessions.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about towards the end of the game when Nigel got subbed out?
Yeah, well, let's get there. So Nigel basically played the whole second half until the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5-6 minutes, I think it was.
Or was that 3 minutes? I think it was the under 4 timeout. He didn't come back out.
Yeah.
Again, he's definitely injured. But I don't understand how you can pull him. Look, it's a 14-point game. It's probably over, but you got to give it one more shot. And I don't understand how the only way you could conceivably erase a 14-point deficit in 3 minutes is if he hits like 5 threes in that period of time. Yeah. It's like, how is he not?
And we're not getting that many stops as well.
Yeah, and Jakai is in there. And I still don't know what he does well. I'm just being honest. Like what? It wasn't even okay, Nigel's like laboring and let's put Bensley, Wooga, Matthew, and Keyshawn in. It was Jakai. Yeah. I don't. There was a lot of personnel decision in this game that I had an issue with. Just, I mean, I've been pretty consistent in this. In my opinion, you've got your 6 guys, and you got to live and die with them. We didn't. It sucks we died without them on the court. We made a run to start the second half and then cut it down to 10. And there was a lot of momentum going. There were actually quite a few Canes fans there. They were starting to make noise. Yeah. Immediately, Nwoko came in and played like a 6-minute stretch in which we lost all of the lead all the lead we had erased. They pushed it right back out to where it was at the time. Yeah. And it wasn't that he was playing bad. He was a non-factor. He took 2 shots, I believe, or 3 shots.
2 finishes at the rim.
Yeah, which happened in back-to-back possessions after he'd been playing a huge extended amount of time. He had 1 rebound, which is also part of that sequence, and a missed free throw, which is also part of that sequence. He had no other stats. Like, he had no fouls, he had no rebounds, no blocks, no nothing. He was just there. And he played a lot in the second half in stretches where we needed to cut into the lead. And you're not going to do that with him on the court right now because he's not polished enough. Yeah. And the way we were playing, we need to score a lot.
Yeah. Well, it'd be one thing if he could defend Quentin Post, but he had trouble doing that.
Yeah, and in fact, again, Cleveland was the guy that did the best. I mean, look, I think Norchad did not meet the challenge of defending Quentin Post at all. He was giving up open threes, getting blown by, getting beat on the glass. When we switched, actually, when we started, that's why I was frustrated. The timing of putting Nwoko in and leaving him out there for. We were thinking, okay, might give Norchad a minute below here, and then Norchad came and played next to him. Yeah, and this because what we actually had found a little something there by spreading the floor out, Cleveland guarding Post, and we were kind of starting to chip away there, and then that just when Nwoko's on the court, none of that works because he's not advanced enough defensively to rotate correctly, and offensively he's got nothing. Yeah, and it's and it was just, I mean, he played almost as many minutes as Wooga.
I mean, it's a tough matchup it was a tough matchup for Norchad.
Well, Quentin Post is an awesome player.
To rely on a true freshman to be guarding, a post player of that caliber is,
I think it was, again, I think there was some, I think, if we're going to criticize Coach here, I do think he let maybe some, he was doing a little bit of emotional handling here and some perhaps like lesson teaching versus just what's best right now in the moment. Because I do think, there was quite a few. We mentioned, when Norwich had made that foul, he pulled him right out of the game, and that was like something you coach L's that I'm gonna let guys play through it type of coach. And this time was like we're not gonna go back and watch that disaster, but if we did, we might see what Wigan did to get benched. Because he was definitely we talked about this last week actually. How it was a change for him. He started benching people for screwing up or making mistakes and that might have fed into it too, because he definitely benched Norwich a couple of times, and then frankly would not allow him to guard Quinton Post anymore because he wasn't competing defensively. I mean, the fact that he had 9 offensive boards and he put up like 18 points, Norwich had.
Yeah.
And then just did not play defense at all. I mean, 4 defensive boards for him is just not acceptable.
Yeah.
And there were but
he took 4 threes as well, 0 for 4.
Yeah. I mean,
there's a couple of those possessions where,
Well, I mean, it got away early, and that was a big part of it, was he was shooting 3. I mean, again, though, so I have less of an issue with that and more of an issue with we had some guys hesitating on 3s, and we'd end up with a worse shot, and it's like, dude, shoot the ball. And we shot terribly from 3, so would it have worked? Probably not. But that's you can't not run your offense.
Yeah.
Our offense is all 5 guys shoot 3s, including Norwich, and if you're open, to shoot it. And once they started passing on it, Keyshawn passed on a couple, which is shocking because he's usually the king of just jacking it up at the basket. So I don't know what that was, but like then you're really in trouble because then you're not playing your game.
Yeah.
And I thought we definitely had issues with that. He was disappointing. I think we all thought he'd be another Miller, and he wasn't at all. I mean, I think this is something we'll probably talk about tomorrow. It's not the same type of player.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of talked about that too at the beginning of the season, that we weren't really expecting him to be a direct replacement. I do think he's been disappointing in terms of, overall, offensively he hasn't been consistent. I feel like, but in terms of like what Jordan Miller did for this team last year, and we'll talk about this tomorrow more so probably. He's just not the same player.
I do think it was interesting. He guarded the center today, and it worked.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. We might have to look back at some of Norchad's defensive performances over the last 2 years and see how many times, we had Jordan Miller kind of pick up on the center.
Yeah. Well, no, I definitely think this is something I feel like we kind of mentioned of like
we did, but I mean I think by and large, Norchad dominates his matchup. Quinton Post kicked his ass twice in the last week, and that's not something we're used to seeing. And I do wonder if we didn't see it at all last year, basically because when he got into even a little bit of trouble, switch Jordan Miller onto him, which just gives a different like Quinton Post is an awesome player. He can shoot 3, he can score from anywhere, he can put it on the deck. Like he's really, no one's covering him really. But I think by putting a smaller player on him, it actually did take away his drive game. It forced him just to be a post player. And then we were swarming him when he was getting the ball in there and making it a little bit. He still got his, but he had to work a lot harder for it. I think in the first half we thought Norchad can check him. Yeah. And we went 1-on-1 and Norchad got roasted.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at the under 16, whatever, one of the timeouts, we were down 15-13, and Post was about to go shoot a free throw to put it 16-13. And it was like, we had, like you said, we'd start off well, and then he just scored 9 points in a row.
Yeah.
And we were that was the only time we were really hitting shots. We kept up for that small stretch, but the 3-point shooting was terrible too, which hurt because there weren't that many bad shots. We were like, why'd you shoot that 3?
24%.
Yeah, and it just wasn't going in, and that's been another issue this year. We just haven't shot well, and I think that's kind of gotten to them a bit too, hesitating on shots, just shoot the ball. We didn't necessarily do that here. It was kind of how we've been losing games.
No, yeah, absolutely. I don't even.
I will say though, I do have an issue with Nwoko playing that many minutes. Like I don't think he he wasn't doing anything on the court. Like he wasn't making any kind of an impact. It is so.
Yeah.
He had those 2 plays in a row where Nigel stole the ball and alley-ooped it to him, and then on the next one he had a rebound putback where he then missed the free throw. And that's not only is that all of his stats. If you look at his stats, that's it.
Yeah.
He played 16 minutes, and that's it. Like he's not like. Frankly, if he picked up some fouls or something, like all right, he just was just standing there, and it was a bit of 4 and 5, and we wasted a lot of the second half with him on the court.
Yeah. I don't know what went in.
Yeah, again, we don't know what.
Yeah. I mean, we just got to preface that because.
But I also think, again, one of the issues is if you're going to play Norchad as the 4, which we did good bit in this game, the big man needs to be able to score in the low block. You cannot. Yeah. You cannot play. You cannot
be a threat of some sort.
Well, no, he needs to occupy someone by the rim because if you think about the way the floor spacing is working, if he can't get on the low block and at least like catch and score, there's no because no one's covering him like for a jumper. So what do you even like? It's just you're playing 4 on 5 unless he can score around the rim, and he's not there yet. He can get there. So it's not like a knock on Nwoko. It's more of a knock on Coach L for putting him in those positions when his game isn't there.
Yeah, I mean, he's a true freshman. And he still has a ways to develop. He was a 3-star coming out, right?
Right. So, if he develops a postal game, then because Norchak can hit the mid-range. In fact, he hit a brick like 4 in a row. He hit it from the same spot, right? He can hit the mid-range, so then you can see kind of how the floor opens up. But if you're going to have a center out there next to him that is bringing – a big next to the basket, but also can't score.
Yeah. Well, and it's like too, like how many weeks ago was it that Coach L said that we had never practiced Nwoko and Norchad playing next to each other, and so you're trying this, like know what I mean? This late.
I mean, we didn't even get into the one lineup he put out there, which was
God,
what was that? It
was Bensley. I'm
Nwoko, pretty sure it was
Norchad.
Oh no, it's Cleveland. It was all the tall. No, it wasn't. It wasn't Bensley because I remember I was like, "This is our tallest team." It was like.
Was it Keyshawn then?
Keyshawn was there. Yes, it was Keyshawn.
It was Nwoko and Norchad for sure.
Yeah, and it was Keyshawn, and I think Cleveland might have been out there. Oh, Joe Bay was out there.
Joe Bay, and then was it Jakai or was it?
No, it was. I think it might have been Nigel. Even.
Oh, it was Nigel too.
But it was like, oh yeah, it was because I was like, well, Nigel just has to shoot every time because who are you gonna run? You can't Joe Bay and Nwoko and Norchad and Keyshawn. Like that's like you said, like there's no way we've practiced with that lineup. We certainly haven't played with it. How is this a lineup you're using in a tournament game?
Yeah.
So I mean, all that's frustrating. Look, we were very clear on this. Like we were not going to win 5 games in a row. We probably weren't going to win the first game, which we didn't. Like we played BC twice. They beat us both times. They're probably just better than us, which they proved today. They are better than us. We're probably the worst team in this conference. So, was there a way to coach or rotations in this game to win? Probably not. But I still don't think we put our best foot forward. That's the frustrating part there.
Yeah.
And again, I've been very like you gotta ride your guys, and we didn't do that.
No.
And actually, at the last time out, I was like, maybe we could put the kind of the joke, and then he actually wasn't and bench Nigel. And I'm just like, really?
You have no one to blame but yourself.
I know. I asked for it and I got it. And by the way, that point in the game there was 3 minutes left. We were down 14. We actually ran a really good play, got a wide open 3-4, then he missed. And that was the way the game was going. Yeah. So like you would not have gotten a better look with Nigel or Isaiah or Jordan on the court. Like that's exactly the look you need. You just got to make it. But in the North Carolina game when we were down, like when it was a tight game at the end, and he subbed Jakayan in the same situation.
Oh yeah.
That is problematic.
About that.
So it's not the first time he's done that. I'm like, I'm sorry. What is he bringing to the table here? But like, why do you want him on the court instead of Keyshawn? I don't think Keyshawn. Keyshawn wasn't in either, right?
I don't think so.
Because if Nigel's out and Jakai's in, there's still some other guard out. Because again, we had 5 viable guards that we could play. So if Jakai's in, that means 2 are out. I think Keyshawn was the other one.
I think it was Keyshawn. Was it because he had gotten? Because did he eventually foul out of that game or something? Or am I thinking of another game?
Are you talking about against North Carolina?
Yeah.
North Carolina.
Because like, was he in foul trouble? Maybe I don't know.
I don't know. Did he play? He didn't play against North Carolina. That was one of his injured games.
Hmm.
No, but again, that one you had Nigel because he played that game. Wooga, Matthew, and Bensley. So why is Ja'Kai on the court?
Yeah.
And the same thing here, except this time we had to bench 2 of them because we were healthy. Damn. It's been a long, man. We got to wait a long time to win a basketball game.
Yeah. Officially end the season on a 10
games.
10 game win or loss streak.
The last game was a win was Virginia Tech at home.
Wow. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, and it's not a slow moving train wreck. It's half the season. So
yeah.
I mean, it's nothing surprising here. It's just I don't know. I didn't understand a lot of what we were doing. You think Wooga checked out? I actually don't at all. He was really I don't know what happened with this. He wasn't shooting the ball well today, but he was efforting his ass off when he was in there. He was really attacking both boards.
Yeah, I thought defensively he, was pretty on it. I mean, I think he's been limited all season, and that kind of affected his, whenever you're not as mobile, it's going to affect you defensively, right? Obviously, it's affected his other game too on offense, but
yeah, for me, when you say checked out, it means kind of like not focused and not efforting, and I definitely did not see that. Actually, Beth, I don't think I saw that from anyone. To be honest, I thought everyone competed. I just don't think we're a good basketball team.
Yeah. Well, what about Norchad on defense, though?
Yeah, I mean, true. Well, I mean, I'm a little bit hesitant to talk it down to effort as much as just got his ass kicked. I don't know.
It's just, I don't know. This season has just been a tornado of shit.
Yeah, nothing's gone right. And, I think this is one of the things we actually talked about last week, like before the BC game where Nigel got injured again. It was like, it is important to just win. Forget the standings and it could affect the season. Just to get a win.
Yeah.
Because, these things snowball and, we had no confidence. And we came out and played well, the first few minutes, and then they hit us in the mouth. And we can't take a punch at this point.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, too, you have to look at, no matter how talented you are, when you have guys, and this isn't just blaming injuries in particular, but, this is, everything contributing. You have guys that have missed games. You have rotations that have switched around. There's no consistent roles that have been established, like we've mentioned. Keyshawn is back to the bench. He was starting for several games because we had been dealing with so many injuries. I mean, you look at him, he took 4 shots. I don't think he was really aggressive.
That's true. I don't know what was – I think – so we talked about how at the beginning of the year he was very talented, but it was kind of – I don't want to use the term ball hog as much as just, because it wasn't really that, because he's not the point guard where you just – but he was he would get his shots up, and I do wonder if some of it's, them trying to coach better shot selection and all this, and just getting it. Again, we forget.
Yeah.
His ascension was so quick. We forget he hasn't played a lot of basketball, and he's very raw. He's really talented, but he's really raw, and he's not like when Jaleel comes in. This guy is really if you were still allowed to be one and done, would just go straight to the NBA.
Yeah.
Right? We're not talking about that. And I think when you see the talent, there's still a lot of basketball maturity, and I do think I'm sure. Look, if we saw it and we're like, man, this guy just takes a lot of bad shots. I'm sure the coaches are trying to coach him into shot selection.
And it wasn't just the shooting too. I don't think you saw him trying to make plays at all for other teammates as well. It was just kind of he was just flowing with the offense, just, swinging the ball and whatnot. And he, took a couple shots, but it didn't really look like he got into the game in terms, at least on offense,
Yeah, that's true. And again, I don't know if him coming off the bench contributed to that too.
Yeah, well, and that's what I mean. When you don't have consistent roles like this and you're playing against teams that have been playing together for the entire season and, been doing the same thing every game, like you're at a disadvantage.
Yeah, it's also, and I don't know how much that's affecting the defense, but
I think it's affected the defense too as well.
It's impossible to, win games when you're playing defense like that. Like, just I mean that's honestly at the end of games, like even in the close ones, we could not get stops, and then it puts so much pressure on your offense.
Yeah, I think we've had like moments, and when I say moments, like we'll go like a few stretches of where we have really good rotations and whatnot, and then for whatever reason, whether it's lack of focus, I don't know, we get too hyped on ourselves for getting a couple stops. It just hasn't strung together consistently.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to chalk it up just to effort because I have no idea what's going on. I think I think we're relying on a lot of guys that are either playing out of position or guys who have not played a lot of basketball, and the mental breakdowns are egregious. Yeah. And something that certainly contributes to like I said, we just kind of we got hit with the flurry where they were just some of them were open threes, some of them were contested threes. They were all going in.
Yeah.
And then we kind of stabilized the game. I remember turning it was like around 10 points in the first half, and I'm like, we can just get to like 6 or 8 at the half. They're not going to keep shooting like this. And instead, like we had a couple of defensive breakdowns that just handed them a 15-point halftime lead. They'll kill you. You can lose the lead so quickly. In fact, we were in control of a game against this team last week at home and checked out for 55 seconds.
Yeah. And
a 10-point lead went down to 4. And we did the same thing today, except we're down 9 instead of up 10. And that kind of stuff, you cannot take possessions off. You can't have those mental lapses. And I think, our bench, those minutes at the end of the half is when you're like, oh, we'll try and buy a minute here for guy in foul trouble or whatever. Like, we couldn't survive that little stretch with Norchad out for 2 minutes. And I think that's, the time changes really getting to him. Welcome to real people time. I think the focus, from the bench players when they come in, I don't know that it's always there. There's issues. Some of them just frankly aren't that talented either. Like there's a big drop off.
Yeah.
And so all of that contributes. We kind of skipped over Ethan Katz's comment here. I think. I mean, we'll see. Because I think one of the challenges, and this is something we saw this year. I think retaining Nigel is probably the most important thing. But we're going to talk about that tomorrow. So we'll kind of leave that. I will say the D and the toughness is absolutely correct. That's what we've lacked all year. And that's why it's hard to win games, because you can be shooting well, you can go through stretches, but if you can't, I mean, there's a period in the second half where it was just trading buckets back and forth. That's like,
yeah,
we're executing well, but you can't get us. I remember they missed a free throw and we're like, oh, it's only a 1-point possession. We can finally chip in here a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And that's actually what happened. That's when we cut it to like 10 because we got that and then got stopped and then.
Because they kept scoring. It was stuck at like 13, right?
Yeah. Is Kane stay okay over there? What's happening? Let's do with we'll talk this first. Was that zone defense they tried awful or what? Yeah. And again, I think he kind of ran out of so
it was at the end of the first half, right? I was trying to remember.
It was sometime, I don't think it was right at the end, but it was near the end of the first. Okay. I remember turning to you and I was like, are we in zone? And they yeah. 3 or interface. So it's like, okay, yes, we are.
Like that answers my question.
But yeah, no, and I totally agree. He was definitely searching for. That's why eventually, like, he landed on Cleveland guarding post, which actually worked. But it was he went through several. So in his defense, the reason that Nwoko got minutes in the first half and why he was playing next to Norchad, because Norchad could not guard post, and he's like, let me try my other big. and it also didn't work. But the frustrating thing about the second half is what we had out there was working. We cut into the lead. We had some momentum. And in fact, we cut it to 10 and we're inbounding the ball after the timeout when he pulled Norchad and put Nwoko in, and they immediately went on a run.
Yeah.
So that's why that's frustrating. But I totally get how he was searching for something. Like, even though we're not a fan of the zone around here, I get it. It's like, let me try. So let me try something because we're not guarding them. I get that. Coach L's definitely. He says much, and again, I don't think this is, I think what has happened here is this team has been faced with a crap load of injuries and has not responded to it well. So I think that when I say the team, I mean the coaching staff, the players. I don't know that there was a way to manage this into a good team. I do think there was a way to manage and play as a better team than what ended up, losing 10 games in a row, 6-14 in the ACC. We could have done better than that. But with the way that, the injuries went, we weren't going to be a good team this year. But, I don't think anyone, the coaching staff or any of the players would if they were being honest, would say like they did the best they could with the situation. It just didn't happen. Yeah. But we do have a top, we're going to talk more about kind of next year tomorrow when Melissa's here, but we do have a top recruiting class coming in. So, yeah. And I think we're going to have a lot of moving parts in the portal.
We're going to have a lot of moving parts. So, obviously the position of need is going to be up in the air, right? Depending on who comes back and whatnot.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow.
So I almost wonder when we're going to start to hear some guys leaving.
So I actually thought the shot selection was fine. We didn't play defense. We missed a bunch of open threes. You want to take those shots. And there was a couple. There was one that Matthew shot in the first half that I lost my head a little bit on there. Even before he released the shot, I was like, "There's no way you're effing making that," and which he bricked.
Keyshawn took a couple.
Yeah, but I thought overall, but everyone takes bad shots occasionally. I thought overall the shot selection was fine. Missed a lot of open threes, and we didn't play defense. Like, how many points do we have?
Missed a lot of
81
too.
Like, that's too many points. Yeah, if we made a couple more open threes. Like you said, we missed some putbacks. Some of them we got fouled on and call. But if we do that, 70-something points. Like, the defense was the problem. Like, they scored 81 and they could have scored more.
Yeah.
Like, they took the air out of the ball last 5 minutes to just bleed the clock out to make sure we could
easily could have been 90. But
yeah, no, we didn't play defense. It's the defense. But absolutely it was the defense. Like, it was not the offense. We got a lot of, like, Wooga going 1 for 10 as a killer because he had a lot of good looks.
Yeah.
Right. And
he had at least like 3 wide open threes.
Yeah, and then all those bunnies in the lane too. Yeah, and all those bunnies in the lane too. Like, he could have had 20 easily.
Yeah, he had like 3 missed putbacks, I think, right?
Yeah, and they were all like open, kind of in the paint. Matthew blew that one look, that sweet like spin move, and then just overshot the lane. I think it almost like he was surprised it worked.
Yeah. I think he didn't even realize where he was.
Yeah.
Too.
No, because what happened is you could see. I'm sure you noticed this too. No one came to get ball. Like, he picked up his dribble and like he was like,
yeah.
And everyone was like kind of running away from him, and then he finally he spun to the basket. I don't think he realized he got that close to it. And but yeah, so we left some points out there. It was the defense. It was absolutely the defense, especially since we're a team that likes to play tempo, and you can't do that if they're hitting threes every time.
Yeah,
like the more stops you get, the more you're able to get up and down a little bit.
Well, if they're making threes too.
Yeah,
if they're taking bad shots, that's the difference. You can get out in transition, right, because of the long rebounds, whatnot. But
this is maybe a topic for tomorrow's show when Melissa's here. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, this game, we lost it like 5 minutes in, to be honest, because we never really got close after they.
Yeah. There's the one moment where we got.
Well, it was 13 up, right? And then they went on a big run, and we never. The closest we got was 8.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was. It was. We're kind of analyzing a game that actually wasn't that competitive.
Yeah.
What else are we gonna do? The season's over. Not for the women though. So tune in to that selection show on Sunday. But yeah, the men are toast. It is over. Yeah, I think we are gonna see some dominoes start to fall pretty quickly. I don't know if you saw at the end. I mean, this isn't a big surprise, but who was it? It was Jakai, like went and gave like a big hug to Watson and to AJ Casey because.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I didn't notice.
They were at the end of the bench when they were like lining up for the handshake. And I think because that was the last time they're gonna be on a court together.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's not a big surprise.
No, I mean,
it's not a surprise Jakai is staying because we stayed last year when there was no chance of him getting minutes. Like,
yeah,
I'd be surprised if he were to transfer. And again, this is not my issue with him. Is not him. It is that I cannot think of a conceivable reason to have him on the court instead of the 5 really good guards we have. Yeah. And that's my issue.
Yeah.
But with some of them leaving, maybe I mean we have Jaleel coming in, so I don't think Jakai will get. I can't imagine next year. I'm like I'd rather Jakai on the court than him, but he's solid. He doesn't do anything stupid at least.
Yeah. He wants to be here. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, so I think he'll be back. But I mean, not breaking news here. I don't think Chris Watson and
I would be surprised if either one of them were back.
Yeah, and I kind of saw basically Jakai saying bye to them.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things and that was kind of one of the things that frustrated me. Maybe glass half full. There might be a sign that Coach L knows Nigel's coming back, but. I was really frustrated that if that was his last game, he didn't get subbed out properly, and instead just after a timeout was sitting on the bench.
Yeah,
to me, there's a respect thing there where I don't know.
Let him get his ovation.
Yeah, and I would have. Well, I mean, again, maybe some of these guys are coming back, and that's why he didn't do it because he'll have a obviously better idea of that. But I think he and Norchad should have individually been subbed out by themselves.
Yeah.
If that was actually their last game here. And we're going to know, in probably the next few weeks.
Because he subbed out Norchad, Cleveland.
Yeah, he subbed out the whole team. Yeah, that's when he emptied the whole bench.
Who was it? Because Wooga was out, right, already? Or no?
No, Wooga was in because he had missed 3 at the end.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so he subbed them all out collectively. And I thought, if that was the last time we see Norchad, the last time we see Nigel, I thought they deserved, an individual kind of sub out with. But maybe it's not. Maybe that's, part of the reason.
Yeah.
Again, we're going to talk more about next year. I mean, tomorrow.
And it's not all about the draft, too.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, these guys that are on our team. So here's the thing, right? If you go watch our preseason shows, you will see us full of hubris and making predictions of a very good season. Thinking we're going to rival last year's. Instead, by the end of the year, if you watch those games today, we were clearly the worst team in the ACC right now. And you know what? The injuries do take a huge toll and a huge reason of that. If you look at, like I said, we talked about this last week. Look, Kansas State's not exactly a world beater, but they're a bubble team. We beat the shit out of them.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't compete with us when they're healthy. Yeah, but still, some of the stuff, we couldn't beat Virginia Tech. Now they beat us by 30. We beat them twice.
Yeah.
Notre Dame would kill us right now. We beat them twice. We blew out Clemson. We're not the same team we were earlier in the year.
Mm-hmm.
But you're out of your mind. We're not. But obviously, we thought we'd have a good season. But we're not the ones who picked Miami to finish second in the ACC. That was the ACC media. We're not the ones who had them ranked 7th going into that Kentucky game.
Yeah,
that is what people's opinion is of a lot of the talent on this team. So to Matt's point, it's not just the draft. The portal is wide open for a lot of these kids to go to major programs. Not that we're not one of them. But, they're going to have options if, they're not happy here. Anyone could transfer to another school. I think you need to be prepared for that. I think everyone's kind of looking at binary. Go to the draft or come back. I think, don't be surprised if some of our starters end up transferring to other schools.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Anyway, so we'll talk more about that tomorrow, but I think we should be mentally prepared to see some of these starters in other college uniforms next year.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing we should say is, I mean, how do I want to say this? The change isn't necessarily a bad thing, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, this might have, especially, some of this might have run its course. We do have, again, a top 3 recruiting class coming in. So, those guys are going to get a lot of minutes. And, that means some people are going to have to go. Some of our players have NBA, draft grades. Others don't. But, again, there's options for all of the 6 guys that we kind of have been talking about that we ride, that we should be riding a lot and all that. And those guys can transfer to a lot of power conference teams and walk in the starting lineup. So, Miami is certainly not the only option. You know what? Jaleel is definitely starting here next year. So,
oh yeah, no.
So like someone that was starting this year is not.
I think
come back.
I'll say this: if everyone came back, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. He would still start.
Yeah, no, he would. And that's my point. So someone's at the very least getting pushed to a backup.
Yeah.
And so and someone's probably not going to be happy with that. So, and that's a minimum, right? That's fair. But obviously, everyone's not coming back. So.
Yeah.
So a lot of off-season talk we'll do tomorrow, but yeah, some of these guys we saw a lot, definitely Watson and AJ Casey was the last time we're going to see them in a Hurricanes uniform, but probably some of the other ones too, and not just because of the draft, as Matt said. But that's probably more for tomorrow's discussion.
Melissa will be upset if we start talking about all that.
Yeah, no, we'll do that tomorrow. Sure, we'll have the full crew. I guess anything else you want to talk about in this disaster of it? End of this disaster of a season?
No, I think the only thing I will say is shout out to this guy right here, pushing me in a wheelchair all around.
I mean, I got my workout in well before the game.
Huffing and puffing, pushing me up hills and everything. So I appreciate it.
Cemetery is steep.
Yeah. So I appreciate it. Your boy's got limited steps. So.
Yeah, he's Matt's still playing hurt here, but he showed up to the tournament and gave it his best and came up short, just by 17 points in the end or whatever it was. Yeah. We'll talk a little bit. We'll get Melissa's thoughts on kind of the end of the season as well as we'll give ours tomorrow, and also talk a little bit much more future thinking. I did not get the ice cream. I was in Kentucky I literally came in that evening, watched the game, left at 2 a.m. to drive to the airport to fly to Mississippi and watch our women beat the shit out of Mississippi State, which was the best choice I made out of all my dumbass travel plans this year. Traveling around the country and watching this team lose, that was the best decision I made. We smoked that team. Anyway, I'll live. I'm good without having the ice cream. Anything else you want to do before we?
No, I mean we'll go over more of the off-season type movement stuff tomorrow and recap the season. But yeah, I mean obviously, wanted to get a end of the year win, but still cool to go see a game with you. So.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, this is the fitting way for my season to end because I just saw us lose so many fucking times that I needed one more. Yeah, it's always go Canes. And the women are not done yet. There will be all indications are they will be in the tournament. So check out that selection show on Sunday. We'll have more on them, obviously, as they travel through the women's bracket. There's only one thing left to do for the last time in the men's regular season.
That it's so wrong that I'm doing it. I mean technically it's tomorrow too.
I mean,
well, this is the last game, right?
Over.
You know what? Just cue the Sox outro.
Don't cry. Keep it chill. Wear good socks.